Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I'm Sunny Pancholi, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with industry stalwarts interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim to achieve with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such industry titan on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Nagendra Gummaraju. As a civil engineer, he is a highly experienced professional with a career spanning over 3.5 decades in infrastructure projects, business development, and corporate work. With expertise in tunneling, railway construction, and maintenance, he has consistently demonstrated strong leadership and strategic vision in his roles. Throughout his career, he has excelled in various areas, including tunneling consultancy, business development, and tender and contract management. He has successfully formulated and implemented competitive strategies to drive business growth, expand market shares, and achieve revenue and profitability targets. At present, he is serving at PRAGNA Consultants in the capacity of Proprietor. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, Mr. Nagendra.
Thank you. It's an honor being here with you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Nagendra, our viewers would like to know about your roles and responsibilities at PRAGNA Consultants.
Okay. Harnessing 36 years of experience in the public sector and a little bit in the private sector, I wish to contribute, and I am contributing to the growth, that is the proper growth of, say, engineering projects in the railway, waterway, and the highway sector. Essentially, I am offering consultancies for projects in Maharashtra, Kerala, and Madhya Pradesh. All these belong to, say, the transport sector, beginning from bid process management on the one side to preparation of bids, and of course, design and consultancy. I am drawing all my experience from my stint in Konkan. It has been a 31.5-year-old stint in Konkan Railway Corporation. By the way, in independent India, when you talk of railway, there are two mega railway projects which comes to mind immediately. The first one is the Konkan Railway project, which is along the west coast of India, a 740-kilometer long line with 91 tunnels was constructed in a short span of less than 7 years. I'm proud to be a part. The second one is the Udhampur-Srinagar-Baramulla rail link project, which is nearing completion. I'm proud to have played a significant part in that. So, essentially, I am pouring in my life experience through PRAGNA Consultancy to the industry at large.
So, Mr. Nagendra, what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced during your career journey?
Yeah, the first and foremost challenge, I see challenge as an opportunity as well, is there's a wide gulf between the academia and the industry. Right since my nascency in the industry to this day, I find this gulf widening but not narrowing down. This is the biggest problem. Our graduates are not industry ready straight up. There has to be a training program which industry seldom provides, or people have to learn on the job. There is bound to be dissatisfaction. This is the first challenge, that number one, the gulf between what is expected of a young engineer and what he can provide on day one. Second problem is, I find that the project proponents over this last nearly 4 decades continue the same manner in which they launch projects. The project proponents have to keep the ground ready for the agency to deliver the project. What I mean to say is, the project proponents are rarely ready with thorough plans, thorough investigation. There is no level playing field. Somebody has got more information, somebody has got wrong information, they dive into the tendering process. Therefore, end up with not the best possible agency, nor the agency who is competent, who have quoted the most suitable rates. In our country, the lowest bidder takes the cake. Therefore, it is very important. This is a problem that is global. In construction contracts, there has to be a thorough planning process in place, wherein all the data that is relevant to the project are put on the table, and then if bids are called, you will get meaningful bids, and there is a better opportunity or chance for the projects to complete within the timelines and the cost projected. So this is the second problem, which I find that is a problem. It also follows to inadequate sharing of risks. If we are able to share risks in a better manner, only then the projects will find an opportunity to get completed. So these are the two fundamental challenges which I find. And of course, there is a challenge that India, being such a vast country, now there are no easy projects. We are going into more and more challenging projects. Prior to Konkan Railway, we did not dream of doing these many tunnels in a single project. There was the Proprietor project earlier, and there were some small tunnels in Hassan Mangalore. But Indian Railway or the highway sector did not dream of projects. In fact, I am proud to say here that I am also associated with the Mumbai-Pune Expressway. That is the first expressway project wherein Konkan Railway had the opportunity to do all the tunnels in the project. So, our infra sector did not dare to dream about tunnelings. Now that we are able to go from one channel to another stiffer challenge, it will continue to go into more and more challenging scenarios. So that is a reason why I say that there is a lack of adequate knowledge in the system. We do not have people who are having the required knowledge. This knowledge has to be all along the value chain. And the depth of knowledge and the spread of knowledge, that is very important. We rely on people from foreign countries to help us. There's a problem with that. They don't know our language, they don't know our culture, and there is always a loss in translation. So it would have been very nice if we would have set up some institutions wherein we could impart relevant knowledge. There's a huge gap in that. And lastly, but not the least, we are not digital savvy in construction. So these are the main challenges which I have foreseen, which I have seen, which I have faced, and which I foresee. To a large extent, we have been successful in dealing with the challenges, but future challenges are going to be much steeper. Therein lies the opportunity again.
Rightly said, Mr. Nagendra. So continuing our conversation, our viewers would like to know that is there any underlying principle that has helped you through all the varied and challenging job roles and your responsibilities?
Yeah, as I told you, knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is something which you have to seek. You can learn from anyone and teach as many people as you would want. First thing is knowledge. in railways is always said, "Seeko, Sikao," learn and teach. I have gathered quite a bit of knowledge, which I share with all those who are interested in. When in Konkan Railway, I was the head of the George Fernandez Institute of Tunnel Technology, wherein I could disseminate my two bit of knowledge to the society. Then the second thing is there is a virtuous cycle in the society. When a person with knowledge, with some capability, or an organization entity which is capable enters an ecosystem for implementation of project, and the people perceive that they have the good intention, then you don't know when the virtuous cycle starts. I have done projects in certain very, very, very challenging locations, technically tough, but then the virtuous cycle has helped me. It's a win-win. My biggest belief is you are a winner if you are doing it together. If you do it alone, it is not a victory. You have to take everybody with you. You support the virtuous cycle. You share your victory with them, and then you go on to scale higher peaks. So the three learnings which I had, or the principles which I applied, was knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is the basis on which you exist, and you add capability to your knowledge, and on top of it, you show your good intentions. With that, you get a virtuous cycle behind you. Through the virtuous cycle, you together achieve whatever you set out for.
Absolutely. So viewers, make a note of it. Whosoever wants to become the leader or who is on the path to becoming a leader, make the note of these things that matters a lot in the journey. And, these are the small things that always it bounds into a bigger scenario and makes a leader out of the situations. All right. Okay. So as someone working in the infrastructure development and construction industry, Mr. Nagendra, have you ever felt a better need for the integration of environmental, social, or corporate governance?
Yeah. On each project, you feel that you have done a good job. But then when you reflect, you always feel that you could have done it in a better way. So you take that learning to the next project. So as a case in point, we all know that we are staring at a situation of water scarcity. Right? So there is in tunneling projects, especially in the Himalayas, depletion of water resources is common. Alarms are raised only if you deplete water from a habitat. If a habitat is affected, only then the depletion of water source enters the knowledge of the contract chief manager or the client. Otherwise, you excavate anywhere, you have water escaping. And then secondly, I'll go a little technical in this one. Tunnels are done as dry tunnels, that is, no external water is allowed in the tunnel which you want to work or you want to maintain in idle tunnels or some other tunnels. Whereas in transportation tunnels, we have dry drained tunnels. That is, the tunnel is dry per se, but the surrounding rock water is drained away. What is the meaning of drained away? That means you are losing the water. How wonderful would it be if you could capture the water which has been stored in the mountains for over millions, if not billions of years. I have worked in strata which were virgin for over 1.5 billion years old, non-fossiliferous rock. And if you lose water from that source, just imagine for how many decades that water would serve the habitat from them. if we had not disturbed the aquifer or the water. Mind, I will tell you again, we have not deprived any person at present from any water. As sustainability says, it is not only for the present, but your actions and your project should also meet the needs of the future. You have to leave behind enough resources for the future generation. In that angle, I would say that it is very, very ethical on the part of project implementers to ensure that what is wasted today is also conserved or preserved so that the future generations do not feel deprived. A case in point. In Switzerland, in tunnels, the tunneling agency cannot lose water because the water is usually a melt from the snow that is sitting atop the hill. There is a reason for that. If you are losing water from that, then you will be deprived of water in the summer, which is useful for hydel power generation. So if you lose water through these means, that means you generate lesser and lesser power. So the regulatory authorities are so strict that they are not having leakages. There cannot be leakages inside the tunnel, seepages. There is a necessity that need is of today. But I am talking about we should conserve resources not for the immediate use of our ecosystem or the stakeholders around us, but for the future generation. The water which we lose from tunnels go into some streams and rivers, and finally it either evaporates or it merges into some other big river and drains away. So we as ethical people should not lose natural resources so easily. So that is my first and core point as regards environment. Okay, there is a thing of contamination of water, air. There are remedies for that. You can provide the remedies, but there is no remedy for loss of resource. Once it is lost, it is gone. So I am more into that. The third thing is, in our experience, we have seen that Muk disposal is a very huge problem. A tunnel project generates quite a bit of tunnel mud. The entire excavation comes out. And the problem is you have to stack it somewhere. You have to use precious land for it. And you have to ensure that the muck heaps, muck dumps don't cause problem to the societies nearby. That is by being unstable in their slopes. How good it would be if we could plan, if the project proponent plans a use for the tunnel muck at the time of conception of the project itself. There would be readily usable material. If there is stone, we could use it for road. Why don't we say that the road authority will collect all the tunnel muck from here? If it can be used for production of concrete, then that should be the dictum. It should not be at the as a pain. Disposal should not be a point of pain. It should be valued as a resource. You can go in for landfill wherever it is permissible for landfill that is being done, but the alternate use of is a valuable thought. We have done it to quite to extent wherever we found that aggregate is, the tunnel muck is of the grade of aggregates. Then we have used it in our production of concrete, or we have done it on the road projects. But then anywhere in any tunnel project, you can find mountains of muck that is lying around. Of course, they are well protected with a lot of vegetation that's covering, but is that what we want? So that's a moot question. So as far as environmental is concerned, this is my concern. And social governance. See, you win only if you take the stakeholders with you. It has not been it's not a new thing. It has been unconsciously in our system that you are disturbing the local habitat. So, of course, you have to give back to society. It is not that it is charity. It is not CSR. You win both ways. the more local people are employable, the lesser is your say expense and lesser is your say friction with the local community. So it's a win-win situation. And in long haul projects, then it's a thought which a project proponent also can think of. Say if it's a project of a decade or 2 decades, why don't we think of having some professional institutions? It could be even an ITI, it could be even a diploma college. Why don't we train so that at least a decade of service can be rendered near their hometowns? So when we think of further projects like in Himalayas itself, we should think of such on such lines as to why don't we train the local people for the kind of jobs that are required. I'm not saying only technical, it could be anything, it could be administrative, it could be medical. There's a plethora of opportunities. So as far as social governance is concerned, nowadays we are conscious that workers' health management. There are a lot of means by which we monitor the health. A healthy worker is a tool for your own prosperity. It's good for him, it's good for you. So the conditions inside the project sites should be hygienic. If you're environmentally clean, if your disposal of waste is minimal, and if your say places are well utilized, you find that the sanitary system is good, then you actually have a good healthy workforce, which is finally good for your governance, for your profit. So it's all interconnected. I do not see anything as a standalone pillar. They are all interconnected. So, and governance part, of course, with the present tools available, it is a happy beginning that we are at it, that we not only want profits, but we want to take the societies with us. And we also are now taking the environment with us with the kind of regulations. It's a happy situation as far as my reading on the environmental, social, and governance position.
That was so insightful of you, Mr. Nagendra. And since we are talking about ESG, here is my next question to you. What values do you offer the corporate world as an ESG and corporate governance expert?
I'm a very big fan of the mitigation hierarchy. You have to protect, preserve. Then you have to ensure that you do not waste resources. Then wherever you have damage, then you repair, otherwise make up for it. So the mitigation hierarchy is very important. That is, plan your activities in such a way that you use minimal resources. And minimal resources are possible with technology or with minimum wastage. The less you waste, the better it is for you. And recycle. For example, to operate tunneling equipment, you need gallons and gallons and gallons of water. Fine? And finally, the water flows outside tunnel. For many users, you need water inside the tunnel. That water cannot be let out into the system society for a simple reason that you are using construction chemicals. So what happens is, if water with chemicals and oil come out and cattle grazes on it, you have one more round of problems coming your way. If cattle drinks the same water, naturally it's going to fall sick, and that comes to the social part of the problem. Fine?
Right.
To avoid that, you have to treat the water. Once you treat the water, you recycle. So you conserve your resources. Resources are precious. The sooner we realize, the better. So environmental conservation or avoidance of wastage is the biggest learning which we can have going forward. it is not easy. But even if an organization can save at least 5 to 10%, then that's his margin annually. It's a competitive world. Nowadays, the bidding is very competitive. What you save in deployment of your resources is the final resources at the bottom line. You come to that. So therefore, there's a huge linkage between your, say, attachment to the environment. It is no longer a fashion. It is no longer something you are doing out of the way. It is the actual requirement. If you do not do that, you are not in the market anymore. So margins being so wafer thin, you have to inculcate this. One may be doing that in practice, but one has to really implement it. Okay. So this is my strongest view on environment. And on the social sector, we have our own responsibilities to the society. The stakeholders are myriad. It is very, very difficult to satisfy every stakeholder. But effective communication is the key. As a project leader, I have faced a lot of issues affecting communities. They may be directly created by the project, or they were, I can say, mostly indirectly created. But then, as the project leader, it is your project, so you have to take care of the project. Somebody in that value chain, has created a disruption. It doesn't mean that you suffer on that account. Yeah, you take more responsibility, you take more pains, but your organization doesn't suffer. So that was a unique opportunity which I had. Of course, I have been benefited by gaining incremental experience. I have done some projects in Iraq, very much before I joined consultancy. So I dealt with people, and in Konkan as well, one of the most painful parts is acquisition of land. The speed with which, or the, say, sincerity with which you come across is very important. Nowadays, people are well enlightened, and they have more than an opinion or two about it. And there are some pressure groups which always think that the project proponent is out to cause you some discomfort. But then the sincerity with which a project leader and the ability of the project leader to ensure that the organization's thought process or the methodology, formula, or mindset is permeated to right down below. In communication, again, the system is only as strong as its weakest link. If the man in the field, if he comes across, or if he says something wrong, it will turn into a cannonball. So one has to be aware, one has to sensitize his own team right up to the bottom and ensure they follow the lead. The rank and file always follows the lead. The leader has to be upright in the first place, and he has to be clear in his communication, and his intentions have to be clear. If once that is done, stakeholders go back realizing that these were my aspirations. These are the maximums that I can get from the system. Okay, there are certain unfulfilled aspirations. Well, that's life. So they go back happy that they got the best deal. So that's the biggest point in social governance, is to ensure that whatever you do is transparent, clear, and everybody across the board knows. And we all know that we can't win everything. So that has to be brought home. So the biggest advantage here is we guys have traveled far away and we have done our projects. That itself is a huge advertisement that people have come here to do something good. So, well, these are the big things, that through proper communication and ensuring that your good intentions or best intentions are clearly communicated to all concerned, not only the stakeholders, I don't mean community. There are local administration, there are, you can say, military, army, because we work in such an environment. So every stakeholder should be made clear about what you stand for. So that's about that. And governance, you are there to do a good job. To do a good job, you have to be efficient, you have to be professional, and you have to always see what is the bottom line. What am I earning? Is it good enough for my organization? So that happens only with efficiency. So we have to apply ourselves to not only be efficient, but also to be effective. And a case in point is the most efficient system is one in which there are least disruptions. So we are all tied in. An environmental mistake can cause a social disturbance which can disrupt my project, which will affect my bottom line. So each of them is interconnected. The sooner we all realize, we will start walking towards shared value in the society.
Absolutely. Mr. Nagendra, since technology is an integral part of our lives now, and we cannot imagine anything running smoothly without technology. So here is my next for you. Technology has changed rapidly and has led to drastic changes across industries and sectors, right? So what are the most significant changes you have seen in the construction industry with technology? And what changes do you see ahead with the introduction of technology like IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, etc., etc.?
Okay. See, the most important change which I have seen across my career, right from the beginning to now, is first mechanization. Mechanization was not heard of in our country, say, in the century that was gone by. The massive use of machinery came in the last decade of the century. I remember that quite a few people would be enamored to see the kind of machines that were at work. Today they are commonplace. But at that point of time, people would come from villages. People would come, my colleagues from elsewhere would come, professionals would come and see machines work. These machines are commonplace. These are even earthwork machines. Then coming to tunneling machines, previously we had very rudimentary methods for tunnel excavation. Konkan Railway was the first organization in India to introduce boomers, drilling boomers in India. So that was a paradigm shift in technology. Our engineers were trained, those who are vested with the responsibility of operating and maintaining the machines. Even our agencies were trained, the people were trained in Austria and then brought back, Sweden also, so that they could maintain the machines. So this is a paradigm, that was a paradigm shift in our country at that time. Of course, now we have moved on to tunnel boring machines. Now you can't see a project in especially urban tunneling where tunnel boring machine is not used. So there has been paradigm shift in technology. At the same time, these are big things which people can see when it's visible. Then comes the techniques, methodologies. Even in bridges, Konkan Railway was the first railway wherein pre-stressed concrete girders were used in such a huge scale. I was one of the first to use the technology in Konkan Railway, and that was because we were in the marine environment, saline environment. If we had used a lot of steel structures, the steel would be corroded by the interaction with the saline environment. That would call for extensive maintenance of the steel structures. But for these spans, all our 25 kilometers length of linear waterway are in concrete. So that calls for major responsibility. So we had an opportunity. the challenge became an opportunity. So everybody who was associated with the project was an expert in pre-stress concrete journeys. Now it is commonplace, but I'm talking about 1991, 92.
Okay.
There is a sea change in, say, methodology of construction, the use of construction material, and one of the say important facets in say projects wherever whatever business you are in is you have to foster and nurture innovation. You embrace technology. If you do not embrace technology, you will be left behind because new technology always has got certain salient benefits. And by the time it would come to India, it would be a proven technology. Right? But what does not come to India after being tested is innovation. You have to not only have an innovative mind. Okay, you don't have an innovative mind, at least foster and support innovation. I was very fortunate. I mean, let me put it in this way. If necessity is the mother of invention, then getting stuck is the mother of innovation. Get stuck into a problem, you do not have the resource that will get you through, then you have to do something if you want to complete the project. That is, you have to innovate. Either you innovate, innovation can be a thought, an idea, a product, a technique. The most important thing is you have to build a team, get innovative ideas from the team, and more importantly, the team has to be built across the value chain, downstream and upstream. When you are into this field of innovation, all have to buy in. That can happen only if there is a team which is cohesive, which says, okay, let's try. And then you foster this innovation. We have solved quite a few problems, some of which have been documented, and some will be documented in the near future. Innovation is the key. You can solve difficult problems with simple solutions. Innovation is the key. Secondly, technologies have to be well understood before implementation. Now, let me tell you, prior to, we have had experience, I have had experience of using satellite imageries, or at least my organization has used in the year 1993.
Okay.
To demonstrate that there is no degradation of land use, we have factored that, and therefore stakeholders have to be told, demonstrated in a manner satellites don't lie. So satellite imageries will tell you how the land use, how the land doesn't degrade, how saline water doesn't come inside the picture.
It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will definitely inspire the future leaders. Thank you for joining us today. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. And moreover, trust that these initiatives by Directors Institute has unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds.